All right, good evening. I certainly hope and pray that all is well. Thank you so much for chiming in. Not going to speak long. Just something I was thinking about today that I wanted to talk about, but I wasn't really sure how to approach the topic because sometimes I don't like to share some aspects of my personal life or some some aspects, some. Clearly, I share a lot of it, okay? But some aspects I don't like to share. I like to keep to myself. But it was a topic that I wanted to address. So, as the night went on, I was just like, oh, forget it. I ain't going to talk about it. Yeah, whatever, whatever. I'm just going to do my thing. But then I started just looking at some things and I said, okay, I'm going to talk about it, but I'm going to approach it differently. And I just wanted to say, I wanted to say, like, I think about some experiences that I've had in my life with people, relationships. One thing for myself personally that I dealt a lot with was being misunderstood, flat out being lied on a lot, gossiped about a lot. Um, People having all kinds of um, misconceptions or preconceived notions about who they thought I was, what they thought I liked, their assumptions. And sometimes people were bold enough to speak to it. People were bold enough to express to me what they thought. One thing I used to get a lot when I was younger was when I was like in my teenage years, I would get a lot of, oh, I thought you were stuck up. And it was just floor me. And then they will always inevitably say, until I got to know you. Well, okay. Or I would get a lot of, as I got a little bit older, oh, you're so intimidating, and I couldn't figure out why people thought that. Another thing I used to get a lot was like in my college years was, oh, you're so hard. And at the time I was like, I don't even know what they mean by that, but I didn't ask either. I'm like, what are you talking about? What does that mean? But anyway, and because of, and it would kind of floor me because these were people who never had a conversation with me, never took the time to get to know me, never talked to me. Like we've never had a conversation. We've never talked to one another. I dealt with a lot of blows in my life, a lot. Sometimes we don't see ourselves as other people see us. We just know, well, hopefully, we know who we are. Okay. I mean, we can only know who we are from, I don't know, our own perspective. You understand what I'm saying? You live with you know what you think, what you feel. And that was one thing I had to tell myself my teenage years because a lot of the bullshit that I went through, some of which I've talked about on here. And I let myself know, you know who you are. Do you know who you are? You know what you've done. No matter what anybody says about you, you know what you think, so on and so forth. And it's like, I was like, yeah, I do. All right, then it doesn't matter what people say or what they think or anything. You know you. Yeah, it's true. So I worked with that and I accepted that. Still dealt with it though. I can't say to this day, to an extent to this day, but it doesn't affect me the same way that it used to because I'm older. You know. But there's a scripture. Like I said, I grew up in church. I went to seminary. I went to Christian schools. I had to learn a lot of Bible verses all the time and stuff. I went to Awana. For those of you who are familiar with Awana, it's like a Christian Boy Scout, Girl Scout type of thing. So we were always memorizing, Bible passages and whatnot. And there's a scripture that says something to the effect of a person who wants friends must show themselves friendly. So if you want, in other words, if you want a friend, be a friend. And I don't know, nowadays it just seems like people just want to fight. They don't really want friendship, they just want to fight. They don't want understanding, they just want to fight, So they will take their misconceptions or preconceived notions and ideas of you and turn it into some kind of altercation of some sort, whether that be a verbal altercation of this black magic shit people throw out on people, or just some kind of fight, And even though a lot of times may be misunderstanding, wrong preconceived notion or idea of a person, or people simply feeling threatened by a person. Like I said, I remember I was in seminary and there was a guy, what's his name, Steve? I can't remember what his name was. Nice, very nice guy. And he was, after class one time, I was in my second year, I believe. He was like, I want to talk to you for a second. I was like, sure. What's up? And then he proceeds to tell me, oh, you're so intimidating, this, that, and the other, and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, okay. And I asked him, why do you think that? Well, what is it? What is it? He couldn't really answer the question. And I said, when have me and you ever had a real conversation with each other? He said, we haven't. No, we haven't. Which means we probably haven't spent any time with each other, hung out with each other, none of that. I probably didn't say it so as a matter of factly as I am now. I was a little bit younger. But I kind of got tired of hearing that. You know what I'm saying? Okay, here we go again with this. This is not a me issue. And I basically was saying to him, by the time I got done, I said, so we've never had a conversation, we've never hung out with one another, you don't really know me in any way, then what is there to be intimidated by? I don't understand. And he was like, yeah, you're right. I'm not, yeah, So I'm just saying that to say, I have just thinking about some of those blows that I've gotten from people that hold on, let me turn my fan on, I'm hot. That I knew, I haven't really, I don't talk to anybody from my past in any way, from my college years, high school years, previous jobs, none of that at this point. Just myself, just, my daughter and a few people, just a few, very, people talk about my circle small. Very, very, very small. Okay. People tend to, I feel like sometimes when they feel intimidated by someone, they love to take an opportunity, no matter what they say, no matter how they try to pretend like they like you and all of that kind of thing. Sometimes those people will take an opportunity when they feel like you're vulnerable, in some kind of vulnerable state, or you've opened yourself up to them because they acted like they were being open to you, or they acted like they were a friend to you, or they cared about you. But yet they have this other thing in mind about you, some kind of agenda in mind about you, on the back of their mind. They will take an opportunity when they feel like you're in that vulnerable placed in that vulnerable state to be nasty to you. Totally unwarranted. And I sometimes they have this expectation, some people, not all, some people, that you're going to maybe, I don't know, run after them or something like that. I'm not quite sure what it is. But I'm not quite sure why you would do that in the first place. You know? But one thing, I don't hold on to any bitterness. I just, okay, well, I didn't deserve that energy from you, so I'm just going to leave. Then I find that people have a hard time with that. They don't like it. They want to be able, sometimes people have this idea, or maybe they have some thinking idea, some kind of idea in mind that you're going to respond a particular way. And they want you to respond in a way that makes them feel comfortable because they already have some kind of energy towards you or around you that makes them uncomfortable for whatever reason. But, I just have never been the type to, I dealt with enough mistreatment, feeling, like I said when I talked about my family situation, the people who raised me, feeling and knowing from a young age, okay, I'm not liked here, okay? And I'm not going to keep getting beat up by people verbally and emotionally and energetically. I'm not, It was just something that, these things follow you. When you get it in your home and it just follows you thereafter. And it was just, for me, it's just like, nah. Because like I said, I had that conversation, or God had that conversation with me. I was I was a teenager. I was probably about 16 or 17 years old, I remember. And it came to me, you know who you are. These things that people have said about you, did you do that? No, I didn't. Did you do anything to hurt those people? No, I didn't. Matter of fact, I've always been the way that I am now, pretty much minding my own business. I have friends and whatnot that I talk to and hung out with or whatever. But one thing that I noted, and I've seen people get karma for it. I don't say anything like, you got kind of, the neck roll and the hand on the hip and all of that type of thing. No. You just keep going on with my life. But one thing that I have noted, and I've seen, and I don't know, I'm sure I'm not the only person, because they say that this is hard for people to say. I've never received an apology. Never. I ain't going to say absolutely never, but very rarely. Very rarely. And you know in your heart and mind, I didn't do anything to you. You just feel some kind of intimidation by me, or you whatever it is. And I know people say that the two hardest things for people to say is I love you and I'm sorry. And that word friend, like I remember a lady who raised me one time, she picked me up from school, and we had a little minivans back in the day. I remember, I don't know where we were going. It might have been my senior year, actually, of high school. I think I was about 16, my senior year. And I was talking about, my friend this and my friend that. And she looked at me, she said, you think everybody is your friend. And I was like, well, what you mean? What are you saying to me here? Basically. And she said, you will find in your life that your real friend, a true friend, you'll be able to count them on one hand, how many you actually have. And maybe say a little bit more to me than that. And I agree with her. I didn't say acquaintances. I didn't say people you could laugh with. I didn't say even people that whatever. I said friends. It's another scripture that says to guard your heart. And I've gotten to that place in my life because I was very open to people. Very open. And I don't want to come across as bitter or anything like that. It's not about being bitter, but it is about being safe. I was watching those, them pop the balloon. I was watching a couple of the shorts. And there was this girl on there. She was very smart. Very smart in how she, beautiful way she carried herself, how she handled herself, how she answered the questions. And one of the questions that they asked, well, what are you looking for? And the dude, one thing she said was someone who is, what did she say? I believe she said psychologically safe. Okay, who wasn't going to judge her, or, how people like to do, talk down to you and make you feel bad about who you are, but yet they say, I love you. No, you don't. You know what I'm saying? And when she said that, I was like, hey, yeah, that is perfect. I love the way she described it. I never thought about it that way, but psychologically safe and emotionally safe. Now, I have, like I said the other day, there's somebody who has crossed my mind, came across my mind about 2 weeks ago, and they've been on my mind ever since. And at first I was like, I don't know why I keep thinking about this person. I haven't talked to this person in years, and it came to me, maybe that person is thinking about you, And I was like, okay, because I haven't thought about this person. When you decide to enter someone's life, and these are people that are sound, of sound mind, Make sure that you want to enter their life from a positive place, or don't enter it at all. Leave them alone. Let's stop damaging people because we're damaged. And this person did something to me one time that basically tried to, I don't know what the game was, but I said, oh, they're trying to humiliate me in front of their friends. I don't even know I barely know this person, and I really don't know their friends. So I said, okay. And I walked away and blocked. Because what they did was very nasty. It was very hurtful. I don't know if this person, like I said, if I've been thinking about them because they've been thinking about me, but so I don't know if they know my presence on YouTube or social media, or having a YouTube channel or anything like that. But if they do, if you do, I'll just say that if you do, and that's why you're on my mind, you owe me an apology. You owe me an apology. And that's just the end of that. So I just want, a lot of people do. But you're here. Your energy is here. And it's been here strong. And I've been checking up on you. Your presence, on social media. You owe me an apology. But I'm just saying, let's remember, like, no matter what we think about a person, or they seem like this, or they seem like that, or they seem like this, it doesn't matter what you think they seem like. They're a human being. And they have all the same types of feelings and emotions that you have. They hurt. They've gone through hurt. They cry. They've gone through pain. They've had happy moments. All of that stuff. All of that. Because I find it sometimes amazing how a person can be so quick to hurt someone, not apologize, hurt them unjustly, uncalled for. But they can realize their own emotions. They can realize their own pain. They can realize their own moments when they've been hurt and humiliated by others, but they can't realize when they've done it to you, you know. So I'm not bashing this person in particular. And I really do think they're watching me because, again, there was no reason for this person to come up in my energy and so strongly. You know who you are if you're watching. I will not be trying to, I'm not trying to reach out and be like, are you watching my YouTube and all of that kind of thing. I don't know what the energy, it just could simply be maybe you see me on here. Like I said, I don't talk to anybody from my past. And not that I didn't have good people in my life, that I didn't have some good people in my life from my past. Of course I did. I'm just not one to really keep up like that. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. I mean, some people, like people I've been talking about on here on my channel now, y'all please stay away. I will never come around you, okay? Except for you to give me that check that you owe me. You're stealing shit from me. But other than that, other people, it's no particular reason that I don't. It's just I'm not really good with keeping in touch, But yeah, let's not forget, that when you talk about all the hurt that you've gone through, all the pain that you've gone through, the betrayals and the stabbing from others, and you know how that felt. Remember when you did it. And I don't know if you've ever gotten apologies from these people. Probably, I can't say probably not. I don't know shit. You know what I mean? People tend not to apologize. They tend not to. I have no problem apologizing to a person if I've done them wrong. There are enough people who can tell you who being honest would say she does apologize when she's wrong. Okay, or if she's hurt someone. Okay. So just that's said in love. All right. So that's pretty much the end of that. I don't have anything else to say in that regard. But I don't care what it is that you think about me or what it is that you think you know about me. One thing you damn sure know about me, anybody, is that I am human like you. I have the same emotions that you do. Nobody likes to be betrayed. Nobody likes to be backstabbed. Nobody likes to be misunderstood or feeling like they have to. I got my fan on. It's causing knots in my string here. Made to feel. Oh shit! Fuck it. I can't get the string, the knot out, and I got my fan on here. Okay, but anyway, nobody likes to be made to feel, misunderstood, or likes to be misunderstood, but nobody. One thing was for certain, and two for sure. Nobody likes to be talked to nasty and humiliated. Or you can see that is where this person, or you're trying to humiliate me in front of your friends for whatever reason is happening. Maybe you're going through something. Maybe you are, Maybe life ain't been no crystal stair. I don't care. I am not the one who did it to you. Okay? And I'm not going to be the one that you're going to take it out on. Okay? I mean, you did. Or people do, I'm just saying, you know what I mean? But I can't stand to listen to a person talk about all the hurtful things that have happened to them, but they refuse to acknowledge when they have been the hurtful person to someone. I can't stand it. And try to act like they're such a saint. It's like, okay. Why? Hold on, let me turn this fan off. I can't even get this done. And that's not mean. That's not being mean. That's just being truthful. You know, it's not about, oh, I'm keeping it real. No, I'm not. You know, I don't even come from that kind of energy. I'm just saying, you know. But that's just something I can't stand to see. I can't stand to see a victim who refuses to acknowledge that they have victimized. Even if it was just me, just that one time. Okay. But I am, no matter what a person may think about me, sometimes people think they know you, and they don't. Like I said, you know, I'm sure I'm not the only person who has experienced this, and I'm not by far saying that acting like I'm some unicorn or some shit like that. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying that I have dealt with that way too much in my life. I thought you was this, and I thought you was that, and oh, she's this and she's that, and it's like I have never even had a conversation with that person. That used to really, really bother me. Now I really don't really care, you know. I mean, I've heard just only every now and then a little gossip, not lately, that people have said about him. It's like, I know, I did not do that, you know, but okay. But people and their ideas about who they think I am. But like I said, one thing is for certain and two for sure, I'm a human being just like you. I got feelings just like you. I have emotions just like you. You know. One thing I cannot stand is bullies, and I cannot stand cruelty. I hate it. You have no right to be cruel to someone. And then don't clean it up, but then skip over into their little world. Well, why? To see, I mean, why? You know? All right. So I just feel like I just want to say that, you know, remember, everybody that you come across, you know, they feel just like you feel. They have emotions just like you have emotions. You know? Okay. All right. That's all I'm going to say to that. And that's the end of that. It's bedtime. You all have favor. Peace.